G'day guys, how you going? Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sean. I make videos about tech, and today we're going to be talking about the Asus Zenbook 15, the UX534FT. So I don't usually do laptop reviews, as you guys might know already, and the main reason why is just I haven't had too many companies offer to send out laptops for me to check out. So when I got an invitation to go to the Asus 30th year celebration here in Australia, which was in alignment with their launch of the Zenbook and the Zenbook Pro Duo, I was obviously thrilled, and I'm really glad I went. I haven't actually seen a lot of real laptop innovation in the last 5 or 10 years. I mean, Apple's done a lot with things like their Retina display, making them thinner and lighter and more powerful, but in terms of Windows PCs, I haven't really seen any innovation there from the major players like Microsoft, HP, Dell, Asus, Acer, and so forth. But when I saw these Asus Zenbooks with the second screen with their touchpad technology, I was actually really excited, because it was the first time that I had seen some innovation from a big company that was making Windows-based laptops for quite some time. Now, for me personally, I have always been, like I said, a big PC desktop user, and the reason why I haven't chosen laptops is purely for their performance limitations and I guess lack of upgradability. Now, I know that I might be an exception to the rule, and a lot of people out there who are students or working from home or working on the go are always using laptops as their daily driver. So I'm aware that I am the exception to the rule, and I'm definitely not the majority. So the laptop I'm going to be talking about today is the Asus Zenbook 15 UX534FT. That's the model name, and it goes for, in Australia, around about $2,200. Now, when you compare that to other brands and models for similar specs, you'll actually find that this is actually a really good price point, and so that's obviously good for you, the customer. I've been using this laptop for about the last 2 weeks or so, and I've been doing a bit of a mix of gaming, photo editing, video editing, productivity work, web browsing, the standard stuff that I would normally do on my desktop, but instead I'm going to be doing it on my laptop. So now that's all said and done, if you did like this video, maybe consider hitting the like button, getting subscribed, so that way you don't miss out on any other future videos that I put out this year. If you want to chat about it more, you can hit me up in the comments or over on my Discord server. I'll leave a link to that down in the description, and let's begin. Alright, so now for the good stuff. The keyboard on this particular Zenbook Pro is absolutely awesome. I quite often felt like I was actually typing a lot faster than I usually would. The key travel on the keys are short, but it's not too short that you don't get that nice sort of tactile bump as you're typing. I found the travel of the keys themselves are actually quite nice, and the fact that they were backlit as well means that if you're a person who likes to work at nighttime, you want to type at nighttime, you can definitely do that. And it also includes a proper number pad on the very far right, so if you want to do some spreadsheets or some accounting work, or whatever it is that you want to use the number pad for, you can definitely do that. So all in all, the actual keyboard I found to be actually really good. Now, the screen pad / touchpad felt like a little bit of a gimmick when I first heard about it and read about it, but actually after using it for a while, what it essentially is a touchpad with a glass top, which is fingerprint resistant, but then beneath that you've got a LCD display, so you can actually go ahead and use it to launch apps, which is part of like the Asus app suite if you want to do that, and you can launch certain tasks from the screen pad down below. Or if you want to, you can go ahead like what I've done and just drag down a window from like Premiere or a folder, File Explorer, a game or an app or a video, whatever you want to. You can literally just use it as a second monitor. So a really good use case scenario for this is if you're in like Adobe Premiere, for example, you can maybe undock one of your panels, drag it down there where you can put your effects and different, I guess, media sources and things like that, and then that way you've got the entire display set up for your timeline. Another good example is if you're a streamer, you might have your game up on the main screen. Obviously that's what you're going to be playing on and looking at, and then down the bottom you could have something like OBS where you can be monitoring, making sure that you're not dropping frames or it's not crashing in the stream or anything like that. So I mean, it's really versatile. A lot of people just use it for launching things like Spotify and playing music, but me personally, I was using it more like a second monitor, which actually, coming from a PC background where I often have 2 or 3 monitors, going to a laptop, being limited to only one usually, but having this second small screen there to monitor things like tasks or chuck on, like I said, whatever I wanted to chuck down there. I actually thought that was really, really cool, and I haven't seen anyone else do it. Apple tried a little bit with their touch bar, but I feel like this is actually something that people would use more often than not, unlike that touch bar. Now the screen is definitely something that really did surprise me. It is extremely bright, especially in daylight conditions. I found like I never had an issue reading the screen, which was surprising. And in a dark environment, I found that I was actually turning the screen down more often than not, just because my eyes were hurting a little bit too much having it at full brightness for the whole time, which is a good thing. Often, or more often than not, for me anyway, laptops are not bright enough. So that's actually quite refreshing to see a screen that is so bright that I have to turn it down sometimes. It's also a really color accurate screen. It's 100% SRS. What do they call it? It's 100% sRGB color gamut compliant, which is great for those of you who want to do color grading or video editing. And if you want, more pixels, then there's a 4K display option as well. But obviously that's quite a bit more expensive. Now the battery life advertised on the page from Asus says that you can get up to 17 hours of battery life, but you have to understand that that was in a controlled environment where they're running a certain piece of, PC benchmarking software to get that result. And they do have the software that they used mentioned at the footer on the website, and they also mentioned that the brightness was restricted to 150 nits of brightness. Me personally, doing a mix of video editing, gaming, web browsing, documents, looking through File Explorer, opening up Spotify and things like that, I was getting anywhere between 6 to 8 hours, which I think in this, current day in 2020 is definitely something that people would expect. So 6 to 8 hours for this type of laptop with a i7 CPU, a dedicated GPU as well, is I think a reasonable amount of time. Now with the webcam, it's only a 720p 30 frames per second webcam, so don't expect amazing video quality, but it should be fine for the occasional Skype call. But the fact that it has an IR sensor for Windows Hello really does make up for it. I've never used this particular feature, but after a few days I forgot it was actually even there. Kind of like your mobile phone, how you use facial recognition now on a lot of devices to unlock it. It's a very similar situation now with the Zenbook, and I only wish that more and more laptops start adopting this type of technology. So the fact that you've only got a 720p webcam isn't the best, but the fact that it has the Windows facial recognition with an IR sensor definitely makes up for it. Speakers, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are all great. The I/O is a good mix, but I really wish they got rid of the DC jack for charging the laptop and they reverted or started using USB Type-C for charging the laptop. I am slowly seeing more and more companies put USB-C in like their mice, in the gimbal that I use for my camera, MacBook Pros, mobile phones. So I really think that they should be trying to conform with what more and more manufacturers are doing, and by putting USB-C, and especially for a laptop that costs around $2,000 to $2,500, I really think that would be an obvious next step for their next model. With the I/O, on the right hand side you've got a USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-C, which is up to 10 gigabits, another 3.1 Gen 2 Type-A up to 10 gigabits on the right hand side. On the left hand side you've got a USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type-A, so 2 Type-A's and 1 Type-C. You've got a standard HDMI, 1 SD card reader and 1 audio combo jack. So that's your headphones and microphones all in one. The design is quite nice. Personally, I don't really like laptops that are too blinged out or too aggressive, but this one come in like a royal blue with some gold accents here and there. It weighs around about 1.65 kilos, and considering you're getting a 15-inch screen and a 14-inch body, it's actually quite impressive. So for those of you who are traveling, I don't think this is going to be an issue at all. If you're the type of person who likes to flex a little bit, I think that this laptop does it, but it does it tastefully. Now here's my only real issue with the Asus Zenbook, this particular model anyway. It comes equipped with an i7-8565U CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, a 4 gig dedicated NVIDIA GPU, it's the NVIDIA 1650 Max-Q. So it wouldn't be unrealistic to expect that people are going to want to play the occasional game here and there. I know that definitely looking at those specs straight away, the first thing I thought is, okay, I should be able to play some games on here and potentially stream stream as well without having too much of an issue. So like I mentioned, I was actually playing some Apex Legends, some Fortnite. I did that with a bit of a mix of settings, low to medium settings, capping it at 60 frames per second with VSync turned on, and I was expecting to get some decent performance and not have it thermal throttled. But unfortunately, what I found, and like what you're seeing on the screen at the moment, is that quite often the frame rate was dipping down below 60 frames per second, even on lower medium settings, because the CPU and GPU just could not get the temperatures right, or could not be kept cool enough by the cooling solution inside of this laptop. So it's all good to have awesome specs and have an i7 and the dedicated graphics and everything else, but you have to also expect that customers are going to want to game on these laptops. You're going to want to maybe do some 3D work, or even export a long maybe clip using Adobe Premiere. And the fact that it thermal throttled the way that it did, it was always around the 80 to 90 degree mark, and the CPU had a max boost of 4.6, but it was quite often around that 2.2 to 2.9 mark, was quite disappointing. If they got the cooling solution fixed, maybe that would mean the laptop is a little bit thicker, which I'm personally okay with. It would mean that the laptop would perform a lot better as well. And I think if you're spending that money, that's not too harsh of a criticism to want to get the performance that is advertised on paper, but actually get that in the real world as well. Now, if you want to know the full specs of this laptop, I'll leave a link to that website from Asus down in the description. If you guys enjoyed this video, like I said, make sure you hit the like, get subscribed, and thanks to Asus for sending this over for me to check out, and for, I guess, giving me the opportunity to review it. Hope you take the feedback into consideration for the next model, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Cheers.